So when I had when we had Jake, he like just I don't know, he was like obsessed with tearing up my video game. So he every morning he would do the same like ritual. And when you have a kid and they do a thing and it keeps them happy and keeps them from like crying and going crazy, then you just like let him do it. And so every morning he'd wake up and he did this walk around our house. We called it the perimeter walk. He would walk around like the edge of our house because he couldn't walk, and he would walk around the living room.
Yeah.
And he would hold the wall and stuff like that, and then he would go by our TV, and then he'd grab all my video games out of the bottom of the out of this drawer, and he would take them out and he'd open them up and he'd take them out of the thing and he'd just check them. So none of them ever worked because like the disc or whatever, it like wouldn't play, and it was just a pain in the ass. And then like I don't know, like just the extra work that it takes to have a kid. I just didn't have time for it anymore. And anytime I played, I'd just get the evil eye from my wife too. And I was like, this isn't working. Because I was playing it like on we just had like the one big TV. So I was just playing on that one TV all the time. And she's like, really? She's like, I want to watch some TV. I was like, fuck. And so like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I gave up playing video games. I'm video game deprived nowadays.
Wow.
I got to get back on.
Yeah. I mean, before here,
I love video games.
Dude, I used to play. I mean, that was all I did throughout like all of school, basically.
I wasted so much time.
So much
I don't even know
time.
if it was a waste, though. Maybe it was valuable.
But then, once photography and everything started taking off, I had zero time for it. Or I made zero time for it.
So let me ask you this question. Is playing video games like of value, like at all? Like, can we make an argument for it? Like,
Yes.
what does it do?
There have been arguments made for like reaction time and.
But do we
this
believe
and
that?
I think that in a healthy dose where you can control it, you're okay.
Because it's entertainment.
Because it's entertainment. If you're not working all day long, if you play video games for like an hour, 30 minutes, an hour, right? And you're still able to be productive, spend time with family, go out, take a walk, do some other things, and you're good.
Now we're getting
that sounds like fake news.
Now we're getting.
But like games like.
Yeah, who's going to only do that? Only
right?
eat one.
Yeah.
Nah, but like games like Fortnite, I don't touch those types of games that like get a lot of people in because this game that Andrew has on the screen right now.
Really boring.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if this is current Maple. Yeah, this is Maplestory 2, right? When I was a kid.
Is it?
I think it might. Oh no, this is Maplestory.
What system is this thing on?
This was on the computer, bro.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, so I played this game.
That's when you're in deep. When you play video games on the computer, I feel like you're in deeper, right?
I played this game in high school, and these are the type of games that I no longer touch. They're called MMORPGs, or massive multiplayer online RPGs, like World of Warcraft. In these games, where you can have friends, you can have a bank account in the game. You can have like pets and a life, right? So I got so addicted to this game in high school, man, that I would be getting like minimal sleep. And I had this like wake up call the day before I started college. I was like, Nsima, if you want to be successful in life, you can't play this game. I was like level 200, which is the highest level in the game. I had billions of mesos, which is the currency in the game. And I deleted my account on that day.
You should have sold your account. I would have made a lot of money.
Yeah, I could have.
I picture like an older Nsima like coming down from the clouds and like telling you this. Like, young man, you must pass up this opportunity to continue to play these video games if you want to be successful.
Dude, that's what I pictured. I pictured myself like at 30 still playing Maplestory. I was like, no, this can't be my life. So I deleted it off of that. It was so bad, dude.
Tell us more. What's going on here with Maplestory? What's this game about?
It's like, okay, so you can, you have your character, you can have different classes. So I think there's
looks like fantasy based kind of thing, right?
Yeah, you could have like a magician, a warrior, a thief, and an archer. And I think they made more classes in the future too. And over levels, you can like evolve these classes into something more, and you can go on quests, and you can go on clan quests and all this stuff. It sucks you in, and it's made to be addictive. That's the thing. Like all these MMOs, like that's why you see
maybe
guys
it's like Legend of Zelda on crack kind of deal.
Legend of Zelda with friends.
With
that's
buddies.
the thing. That's why single player games are so like. I still have like a PS4 and stuff now, but I haven't touched it in a while. But I don't buy games that I can like go online and play with other people, because my problem with that is I want to be really good.
Yeah,
I want to be
it's
the best.
It's so frustrating too, and like. I'm a huge like football fan, so I love playing like Madden football.
Yeah.
And once they started having like online stuff, like I would be pretty good, but every once in a while I'd run into some kid that would just dominate me. And this is like back in the day, like I had like Dreamcast and like all these older like video game consoles when all this stuff was like new, you know? And I'd get some punk kid who was like cussing at me the whole time. He's like, "You ain't shit, motherfucker."
That's the worst.
I'm like, "How old are you?" Like 14. And like they're just taking fucking Dante Culpepper and rolling out to the right every single time and throwing it all the way to the opposite side of the field to Randy Moss. Like they found some goddamn glitch in the game.
Yeah.
And I'm getting just torn apart. I'm like, it's 75-0. What the hell's going on here?
That was the
Getting
worst.
killed.
That was the worst when you started playing online. Like I used to play NBA Live and NBA 2K. That's all I ever played.
NBA Live.
NBA Live. So
Damn, that game was good.
it was so good. Oh, dude,
NBA Live, I'm getting excited now.
I've been playing NBA Live since '95.
Oh
my
damn.
God.
That's how far back. Sega Genesis, son.
Yeah.
But I would go online, and that was when it was no longer fun. Because I remember, of course, I'd be the Kings. They'd always be the Lakers.
Yeah.
And they'd pick Shaq, go up to the half court, like on like the circle, go up to one side, throw the ball up, no matter what, make it every single time.
Mhm.
I lost like 300 to like 4. It was insane. I'm like, this isn't fun anymore. Like, this is stupid.
You're like,
Yeah.
these assholes found some sort of glitch in the game.
Yeah,
They can't
every
play.
single time. Yeah.
But that's the thing. To get better at those games where you play with other people, you have to train. You have to spend hours
Well,
and hours and
I
hours
get-
each day.
I get that, but it was more of like, they figured out the cheat.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't get better. Like, they just figured it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess, yeah, if you want to call it that, like I could have picked the Lakers and done the same thing too, but I ain't no punk. So
I feel you.
now I just play Rocket League.
You have some video games now still that you're
That's
messing with?
it's the like we were just talking about it. Like I wanted to play yesterday, but I didn't have time. But Rocket League is the only game that brings me back. Like I can't. I mean, I buy other games to try to get away from it, and every single time.
I gotta say, one of the things I like about video games is like patterns. You know, like when you find a pattern. Like I really love that about like Mike Tyson's Punch Out. There's like a specific pattern to it. It's like against King Hippo, you got to hit him just right, and like his pants fall down.
Yeah.
Then you can punch him, and he's
Yeah.
like trying to pick his pants back up, and like I that's really fun. And I think that, you know, like kind of all kidding aside, I actually do think that that does work certain parts of your brain. I think it jogs certain parts of your brain to get you to think. And like you go against this like bad guy, and the only way to like kill him is like hit him in the eyeballs, but you don't figure it out until you die 45 times, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But you get thrown back to the beginning too. That's a fucking life lesson for you right there. You got to start all over.
Yeah. You know, I think a good, because I saw this guy and he was talking
This
about
game looks sick, Andrew. Is this
Yeah,
a game you're talking about?
this is Rocket League. It's soccer with cars.
No.
Is it just for the
makes,
Switch,
It makes
or-
no. It's for everything now.
Huh.
It makes no sense. Like, oh, you play soccer with cars. Like, I know it's hard to explain, but trust me, it's
That's
the
what you
most
You're just trying to get
addicting-
the car over like a goal line.
trying to get the ball into the goal.
Oh,
Use
there's
your
a
car.
ball.
Your car's like a
Oh, I
foot.
see. I see.
Yeah, your car's like your foot.
Yeah, essentially. And I mean, you get these like
Oh, dude, you just screwed Nsima. We're not going to see him for a couple weeks.
it's so much fun.
He loves
Oh my-
soccer, so,
So
he's going to be.
on your PS4, you can get this game, and I can
Oh,
play you
no.
on my Switch.
Oh,
There's
wow.
cross-platform play.
I might
Yeah.
just download that.
Where did Nsima go? You're like, oh,
I think
fuck,
it's
man.
on sale right
But-
now too.
But see, like that's the thing.
They
like,
have the Back to the Future car. Oh, it's so much fun.
yeah, single player games are my jam these days.
Yeah.
I
Oh my god.
I don't get in games with other people because Andrew, you know, like you'll beat me in Rocket League. A week you won't see me here at Super Trading, and I'll play you again, and I'll beat you. But that's because I spent like 96 hours on Rocket League.
You make this sound like it's a terrible idea. You know how much fun we would have? The podcast would get so much better.
I come back with like a bunch of zits on
You
my
guys can-
face,
you guys
15
can-
pounds heavier.
You guys can make a lot of money because a lot of people watch people play these games nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, esports is like a like
it's huge.
billions of dollars in terms of an industry now.
Yeah.
Like it's big. People pack arenas playing like League of Legends and Fortnite. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But that's that. You know, games like Fortnite, man. Like I see kids that are like playing that. Ooh, that's scary. Because kids are addicted to Fortnite. That's one of
Yeah.
those games that sucks you in. It's scary.
When I was a
Yeah.
kid and you got involved in a game, you would feel pretty like trapped. I remember like you would just play for hours on end, but it definitely, there's definitely a different level to it now.
Oh, yeah.
When you can play and have other people like on your team, or you can play against people. I mean, a lot. That's a whole nother world.
Yeah, games are like no. Of course, like games have always been a business. They're trying to like they want to make money, but nowadays they figured out all these little things to make you continue to come back. So you don't want to get out of your seat. It's not like it used to be, and it's not as easy to stop as it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah. But like what you were mentioning about Mike Tyson's Punch Out, figuring out the patterns and winning after a certain point. That's like, if you can treat your life like a video game, that's like the ultimate win. Because like, if you like in Mario, there's this guy, I forgot, he talked about it, but he was talking about, like, you remember Super Mario, right? Where like you'd have all these little traps or whatever in the level, but after a certain point of continuing to keep going, you'd beat it.
Yeah.
If you treat your life like that in itself is pretty damn cool, because you will have like a lot of pitfalls and shit. But if you just like keep it going and just try to beat that level.
And how much better are you when you watch somebody else hit the pitfall? You're
Right.
like, okay, I'm not going to do what that guy did.
Yeah.
I'll improve.
Yeah.
I gotta say something here. Glass Joe is a pussy. I mean, he just
Is this
sucks.
like the first level?
Yeah, he sucks. He's so easy to beat. But this guy's not doing a very good job. He's going to tire himself out. Oh, no, he still knocked his ass out. Remember, he's like 1 in 99. Like his record. When they show him in the beginning, he's like 1 in... But
Did they ever find out who the one?
yeah, exactly. It was probably against me. It's I love those old school video games though, and there's a lot of great games today, but I haven't had the opportunity to really fall into that trap, you know. And I'm
sure you want to.
Yeah, I'm probably I keep wanting to buy like one of those like Nintendo, what is it, Switch? Have I got the right name for it? I'm so old, I get the wrong. I'm one of those guys, I get the wrong name for it all the time.
Nintendo GameCube?
Yeah, exactly.
I got Gamecast.
Yeah, exactly. The Nintendo Switch. But then I'm like, I'm just gonna be playing it all the damn time, especially like when I travel and stuff.
You really think so?
I think so. Yeah, I think I'd get trapped in, but I don't know. Do they have Mario Brothers for it and stuff?
Yes, they have.
Oh man.
And then
yeah, see?
and then the other thing is they have it's called Super Mario Maker. So they got Super Mario Maker 2 coming out at the end of this month, and that's going to be the first game that I buy in a long time.
Wow.
Like it's so much fun. Yeah.
What's Super Mario? Like, what
So essentially, like they have their own.
Tyson's all jacked.
He's so jacked. Look at him. They have like 100 levels or whatever that come in the game, but you and I can make our own levels, and then I can play.
Ooh.
So it's like endless amount
It's
of levels.
infinite,
Yeah,
yeah.
infinite. Yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of like, it's like of course like inappropriate things in levels, which is gonna be so funny.
Huh.
But yeah, that, and then what's the Super Smash Brothers is fun.
Yeah.
I had Chris Griffin like kind of give me a tutorial on how to play that because he's really good.
What about cheat codes? They came out with like all those books with cheat codes in them.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I used to go to Blockbuster, sit in the back with like a notepad and take notes for like NBA Jam and stuff, like to get big heads and unlock Will Smith.
What's it called? Like, was there like something called Game Shark?
Yeah, there was a Game Shark. Yeah.
Game Shark.
They had a huge lawsuit, or Nintendo tried to sue them because they were like, you're altering our video games. And they're like, no, like we're not doing anything. We're just opening up what's already in the cartridge.
Right.
That's the thing. Like, you can't create new code in a video game. Like, that was already there.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember,
Yeah,
do you remember GTA when like the news was getting all mad that like, oh my gosh, people are finding out ways to have hookers in the game, or like not have hookers, but like have sex with them in the car.
Right.
But that was in the game.
Yeah.
Someone just like found the code to let people do that. So that was already there.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. Speaking of that, we have an opportunity to get the creator of that on the show. So we need to do that. I keep forgetting about that. I need to get that ball back rolling.
Wow,
That would be fun.
GTA San Andreas.
Like, you sick bastard. He made this awesome game. But yeah, I played that a lot too. That was probably like kind of the end of my video game career, was kind of around that time. But I played the one that was in like, I think it was Miami was like the setting.
Oh, it's like Vice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember playing the original top-down one on PlayStation 1.
I love just being able to beat the shit out of people. You just can like randomly go up to someone and just punch them upside their head. I love it.
Or just be driving and then do a drive-by.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just be like, I'm going to light these people up. They haven't done anything, but I'm just going to shoot them.
Yeah, those games were awesome.
But-
you could get super buff and stuff too.
Yeah,
Go to
hopping
the gym
on
and work out.
Look, he's just shooting all those people on the train. Oh my god!
Yeah, like hopping on a motorcycle or jumping on a train. I mean, it's just like endless.
Look at those homies on those cholos on the top.
I remember my son, he would play a lot of video games. He plays them here and there. My daughter doesn't play them really at all, but he still plays games here and there. But he would get like sucked into these games, and then we'd notice like he'd have the crappiest behavior afterwards. And my wife would get super frustrated with him. I'm like, well, let's think about this for a minute. Like, he was just in a game where literally the world was his. He can do and build and destroy anything he wants, and now he's got to listen to us to like clean up his room or whatever. He's not going to do it. So let's first of all let's have him play a little bit less. Let's take away the game a little bit so he's not on it for 4 hours. And then in addition to that, when he's done with the video game, let's try to give him some time, give him some decompression time, and that actually worked really well. Just having him play less was kind of the main thing.
Yeah, so this was the original Grand Theft Auto. The thing that we thought was like so cool was like, obviously you could do like all the same crazy things you can in the newer ones, but you could take the disc out, put your own music CD in, and that was now the game audio.
Wow.
Yeah, PlayStation, you have little hacks here and there. But yeah, what you were talking about, Mark, I mean, shit, I was a league MVP every single year. You know what I mean? Like, the Kings won so many championships on NBA Live.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, granted, they got like all the good players traded to them for some reason. But yeah, that fantasy world, like a short little escape.
Me and my brother-in-law, we play like some sick games of Madden because like we created our own players and our players were all jacked, and then our players had like the names of like friends or people that were in our lives, and we like we would be so mad. Like my friend, his last name is Jetland, and my friend or my brother-in-law was like, dude. He's like, if I ever see fucking Cade Jetland in real life, I'm gonna just blast him right in the face because he was my quarterback on Madden, and like, of course, you give the guy 99 rating on everything, and you make him as jacked and as huge as you can. And then my brother was the running back, and I made him like 5 feet tall, and like 250 pounds, and he's all jacked and short. You couldn't tackle him worth of shit.
Yeah, I always use my relatives too. Like my brother was always a fullback, I was a running back. Wide receiver, actually. Yeah.
I never played many sports games, man. I played a lot of Pokemon as a kid. A lot of Pokemon, which I don't know. Neither of you guys really mess with that.
The Pokestops, right? Isn't that like that was
the Pokemon
there was
Go.
Pokemon Go on the phone too.
Yeah.
I got pretty good at that, and then I deleted it because I was like, this is too much Nsima. See, like games that I can play with other people, like it's not good news. Don't mess with that much.
It can be a very lethal trap.
And a lot of parents, like you'll see like a lot of kids,
throw.
like they have their iPads out and they're playing Fortnite and stuff. A lot of parents just use it to pacify their kids.
Yeah.
But that's a dark path, man.
Yeah.
Like they'll get used to that. And then when they don't have their games, you're in for it.
Yeah, and the tablets and stuff like that. It is a way to like, all right, well, little Timmy, he's quiet, so let's let him keep going on that.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily it's hard. Being a parent's hard. It's it's a 24/7 thing. I always talk about how hard bodybuilding was, how it's a full court press and how it's just nonstop. And there's, if you're not training, you're mindful about your sleeping, like even your sleep, your nap, like if you can get a nap, your cardio, your even like, well, you don't need to worry about tanning, but some of us don't need to worry about tanning. That adds extra time, into the whole preparation element of everything. So it's like, man, it's a full court press all day long. It's nonstop. And then same thing with having a kid. It's like, it's just never ending. Like, you have a baby and, you got to wake up at 2 a.m. and 1 a.m. or, sometimes they sleep through the night. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they need your help randomly for all kinds of stuff. And then on top of that, it's not like just a day to day, but guess how long it's for? It's forever.
It's forever.
It's like until somebody dies, until either the kid passes away or you pass on, then you're responsible for them forever. So it's ongoing.
Yeah,
forever.
Yeah, this is Counter-Strike. This was the first online game that I ever played.
I played Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
I got really good at Counter-Strike.
I got decent. It was so frustrating every time.
That's the problem. Like that's the problem with me, I guess. Like when I do stuff like this, I don't want to just be casual.
Yeah.
I want to be really good. I want to be world level. That's not good when you're in front of a computer screen,
Yeah.
You want to take it to that next level.
I want to take it to that next
level.
Yeah,
he wants to take it to worlds.
We were all just down in some coffee in our break room, and we got talking about coffee a little bit. Are you guys pretty bad with your coffee? You smash tons and tons of coffee, or do you try to be? From that laugh, I'm supposing you got some issues with it.
Yeah, well, I'm okay. I'm honest. I'll go first because Nsima, I know you got something to say here, but like I literally haven't found like my lane with coffee. Like I enjoy it. It was tearing up my stomach. It's not as bad anymore. But lately, what I've been doing is just putting our Slingshot protein in it, and that's amazing. Like that's my favorite like way to drink coffee now. I can't drink.
Speaking of Slingshot protein,
Oh
today,
my gosh, that's right.
I think today we have free worldwide shipping.
Yeah, today what's
across the entire world.
Yeah,
it's free.
The
free
20th.
shipping.
The 20th. So if you're listening to this live, you get
and on top of that, it's going to be Nsima directly delivering it to your house. He's going to drop it off everywhere. Yeah,
like Santa Claus.
You can get to Germany, Italy, England, wherever.
Yeah,
wherever you're ordering
from. Secret jets that allow us to go really fast from coast to coast. So you guys will be seeing me in person.
Chemtrails,
reindeers.
Yeah. Any hoot. I can't drink coffee after like lunchtime though.
What happens to you? Turn into a gremlin?
No, I just I don't know. I have a hard time. Like I sleep fine, but I feel like I need to get more. Like it just doesn't. There's not enough time there for me.
Yeah, you don't sleep as sensitive.
Good. Yeah, and if I don't eat more and I drink more caffeine, especially coffee, I get really like that. I get the coffee shakes. You know, I start getting a little jittery, and I just don't feel good. The diminishing returns happens way quicker.
Yeah.
So in the morning though, like I've already had probably 2 full shaker cups of coffee, and I feel freaking awesome right now.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, melted ice plus protein.
Okay.
So, but how about you, Nsima? I know you drink a lot of tea, but how are you with coffee?
I don't drink that much. I don't drink that much tea. But yeah, I've lowered my coffee intake as of recently. I used to just drink like every single day, like maybe 2 cups or something. Some days 1, but there was a point that I started getting like muscle twitches in my tricep, and it didn't stop. Like
I like that one you get like in your eyeball. You guys ever get that? Like, where you're like, my eyeball's freaking out. I have no control over it.
Yeah, that's how I get too when I don't sleep enough.
Yeah, and the thing is like caffeine or coffee helps with like extending your fast so that you don't feel as hungry or whatever, right? So there'd be certain days that I had a little bit extra, but yeah, my tricep, man, like at the top just started just like bouncing, and I was like, okay, well, let me just whatever, and it was doing this for like a week, and I was like, this is a problem. So I like there would be certain days now where I drink decaf, right, just because I just like the taste of decaf, and I know it does have a little bit of caffeine in it, but yeah, it stopped, and yeah, I don't drink coffee every single day now. Yesterday I didn't have coffee. On days I don't really feel like I need it or I got a good amount of sleep, I won't touch it just because I also don't like the idea of having to depend on it to be able to like do things at like, I don't know, an energetic and high level. I don't like that aspect of it. So I like to use it sparingly. So maybe 4 days of the week. Some weeks 5. I'll now be drinking coffee.
Tip on coffee. So like I guess one of the issues can be I don't really feel like I have an issue with coffee. I feel like I feel fine with it. I do try to stop drinking it, if it gets to be like 1 or 2 p.m., I usually stop drinking it at that time because it can ruin my quality of sleep. It doesn't like make it any harder to get to sleep, but I feel like I don't sleep as good, kind of like Andrew was pointing out. But if you get an Americano, especially if you go to like Starbucks, Andrew, maybe you can look it up, but if you get a single Americano, usually Americanos I think are double shot, especially if you get like a grande Americano, it's basically just watered down caffeine in a way. It's a watered down shot of espresso. And a lot of times what happens with caffeine is people will have this giant surplus of caffeine. So let's say that something has, let's say you have an iced coffee and you just sip it down because it tastes really good. Maybe you put sugar in there, maybe you put some cream, and it tastes delicious. Well, now you just got nailed with a huge surplus of not only sugar and calories, but even aside from the calories, you just got nailed with a big dose of caffeine really, really fast. And that is not supposed to be great for you. So if you're trying to figure out some ways kind of around this without having like really step back your coffee game, go with some single espressos from or single Americanos from like a Starbucks or something like that, or Dutch Bros. And it'll only have like I think around 75 milligrams. Is that you're seeing that?
The one I pulled up, it shows for a 16 ounce, but it shows 225 milligrams.
Right.
So a single shot, I mean, what's that? That's less than half of that. It's like quarter of that. Then?
Yeah, I think it'd probably be quarter of that. Anyway, you can kind of look up the information. I think they even have it on the Starbucks website. But from what I remember, it was around it was under 100 milligrams of caffeine. So that could be a way of doing it, or just get smaller cups of coffee.
Yeah.
Or figure out a way to drink your coffee over like a little period of time, so it's not just massive dose. Because there's nothing worse than having the jitters and feeling some heightened response to caffeine, but you're still tired. You know, like
that's the worst.
like it feels like you know, sometimes they might say, "Oh man, that guy's got no heart because he like didn't finish a fight strong or something." You kind of feel like that. You kind of feel like you don't have any heart. You feel like you don't have any like zip to you. Meanwhile, you're wired though. You're like your eyes are twitching and you're kind of like halfway alert, but you feel like you're half dead. You feel like a zombie. It's an awful feeling.
You know, like we talked about this, but you know in that Why We Sleep book? So he did tests. I think they gave, was it spiders? Yeah, I think they gave spiders caffeine, weed, and something else. LSD or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they had them make webs, or like they were just tracking the way these spiders made webs. The one that was on weed, it was like a really cool looking, it still had shape in terms of the web. The one that had caffeine, the webs are like crisscrossed, and it looked like its brain was just effed up, which was really, really weird to me. Just a fun little tidbit there.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah,
it was all messed up.
It just seemed jacked up. Yeah, right here.
Yeah, and
spiders exposed to LSD. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's 75 milligrams for a short, so 8 ounces of the Americano.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah, or you know, like what Mark was mentioning, you could just be like a G and have nothing in your coffee. Drink it like me, black, straight up.
Like you or
no, like me, not like me. Like I do black.
Wait, what?
There's so much going on right now. All right,
you do black. Never mind.
Well, I mean, yeah.
What were we talking about? We are just we're not doing very good today.
We were talking about coffee.
I don't think people are listening, so that's the good part.
Are there any days where you don't have caffeine, or you just like have it every day?
I think I end up with it almost every day. Yeah. There's some times where it'll be, you know, like 1 o'clock, and I'll be like, I think I went the day without coffee because I'm not going to have it past that time. So it happens here and there, but it's usually just kind of like part of routine. I work out, and I don't ever have caffeine before I train.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'll have it after I train. It's just kind of more of a thing than it is like I don't really feel like I need it. I could certainly, you know, go without it. Although if I went without it for a few days in a row, I wonder, like that might make me kind of feel like shit for a little while, just because I haven't really tried that before.
I definitely love the social aspect of it, like going to a coffee shop and hanging out. I do like really
tea.
Cool.
I like tea just as much, so I don't know why. Like, I mean, I guess I could drink. I do a lot of times in the summertime have iced tea when I go to like a Starbucks or a Phil's or anything like that. So, you know, it's not a bad idea. I guess the point of a lot of this is like, look, try some different things. Try some different things with your diet. Try some different things with your supplementation. Try some different things with your coffee, because maybe that's something that's messing you up.
Yeah.
Like if you have shit sleep, that would be the first thing I would investigate. Is investigate. You know, how much caffeine are you having? You having pre-workout at 6 p.m., you know, before you hit the gym at 7 p.m.? That could be a huge problem. And then also just trying to get on some sort of schedule. Try to find some sort of schedule. I like what you said the other day. You're like, you know, basically whenever I go to bed, I wake up 8 hours later.
Yeah.
You know, if you can create that kind of space for yourself, create that kind of life for yourself, that's a great route to go. You go to bed at 9 and you do the math and you figure it out. Some nights you go to bed at 11, do the math, whatever that equals out to be. You try to get those 8 hours in.
You know, like when we were talking about that caffeine, I really do think though, like I had a little bit of a problem with it. I didn't realize, because like on the days I don't, and even nowadays on the days that I don't have it, I do feel just a little bit lower. I don't like that. Like I wish, or I want to feel just as perky and just as energetic, like as I feel after drinking coffee. So just got to figure out a way to create that a bit, you know.
Feeling tired, I think, is a very normal thing, and I think that people get like a little bit in a panic. And Jordan Syatt had a good post. I'm actually trying to pull it up right now.
Ooh, I'm curious about this.
So being tired doesn't mean your adrenals are burnt out. I love Jordan Syatt, by the way. People that aren't following him, you really need to, because he's got this way of slapping you in the face with really common information where you're like, oh yeah, I am a dumbass.
Yeah.
He does it. He's very convincing, you know. Being tired doesn't mean your adrenals are burnt out. Being tired is a normal part of being human. You might do well with better sleep. You might want to make better food choices. You might want to exercise smarter, but don't forget, being tired happens to all of us, right? It's like stupid.
But Jordan, I don't want being tired to happen.
Yeah.
I want to be energetic all the time.
Well, look, how many times have you slept for 8 hours and woke up and been like, you know what? I'm actually still pretty tired. You know, it happens sometimes. Happens sometimes. Like, who knows how you slept? You know, who knows? Maybe you were whacking off in the middle of your sleep. I mean, happens to me all the time. I'm whacker from what I've heard. I don't really know. You know, I don't have like video proof of it or anything, but things happen. You know, hey, look, if I was me, I wouldn't be able to keep my hands off myself either.
Andy looks to the left. Mark, stop it.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Again?
That's in what's that movie? Is it American? I think American
Pie.
Yeah, is it an American Beauty?
American
In American Beauty, Kevin Spacey. He's like whacking off in the middle of, like she's sleeping and he's like beating off and she's like, "What are you doing?"
Oh,
She says it like she's so disgusted.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, you're not touching it, so somebody needs to."
Oh,
And
man.
that movie starts out it starts out with him whacking off in the shower. I think that's the way the movie starts out. But that's a hilarious scene. She's like, "What are you doing?"
This is House of Cards.
look at-
Spacey. Yeah.
Yeah,
it
she's
is.
horrified. Look at her faces. That's
So mad.
Like, what are you doing? It's not like it works out in porn. Like whenever they're doing that in porn, then the girl's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll help you out."
Yeah. Always have narratives.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
always the
God.
stepsister too for some reason.
What?
I don't know why. I don't know why that always pops up. But
Man, nah, like apparently
here we go.
Apparently, no, because I was reading an article about Pornhub searches the other day, and apparently, like one of the biggest things nowadays is like incest porn, like
Yeah.
mother porn. And
Yeah.
where are we going as a society?
I guess like
That's kind of creepy.
People are just like the more taboo, the better. I guess I don't
More
know.
taboo, the better. Oh Lord!
I think I think there's got to be a cutoff point there or something.
It's like the second podcast where we've spoken about this. We need to veer. But what were you going to say?
No, they say,
Andrew?
like, do people actually like look at the titles, or I
You're
kind
right.
of just look at the thumbnail and then like, there we go, and then find out later, shit.
This is quality.
You know
4K.
what? You know what's actually really interesting is that all other websites follow porn.
Yeah.
Like, because like I've said this before, like whenever we have this like great technology, it's either used for mass destruction or porn.
Mass
like-
destruction or masturbation.
Yeah, mass destruction or masturbation. That's really well said.
Title of the podcast.
Yeah, title of the podcast.
Oh God.
People are like, "Oh, this drone, I could, shoot somebody's house up, or this drone, I could like, be a perv and try to look at people naked or however you're going to use it, right?"
Yeah.
But that happens at every turn. But with porn sites, like when you put the thing over the thumbnail, like it shows you like what the video is, and then who's copied that? Every
YouTube.
other channel, YouTube, all of them,
Mhm.
they've for some reason, well, maybe not for some reason, but probably because they make millions of dollars. Those porn sites are way advanced, further than anybody else, from
Yeah.
what I've heard from friends.
They're leading the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's well known now, but just in case, because I mean, we are pretty far away from DVDs, but that's why DVDs they beat HDVD, because porn ended up they got rid of HDVD and went with just straight DVD,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how that whole thing, like the whole like industry, got killed, because porn was like, no, we're gonna go with this one.
They really continue to innovate. Yeah, man.
They're ahead of the game. Anyway, switching gears, we
Thank
had
goodness.
going from porn to meat.
Whew.
I think there's some correlation there.
There's a little bit of correlation.
But Andrew was saying that liver is the new, or kale is the new liver, or liver's the new kale?
Liver's the new kale.
Liver's the new kale.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like a vegan or anybody, vegetarian, human, is like, oh, kale is like, that's the best thing you can have for your body. And it's like, well, it sounds kind of crazy because it tastes terrible.
It's a leaf.
Now,
Kale, no.
yeah, kale, no. Now it's liver. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, well,
Well, I think kale is one of those weird things. I don't think it's been around for very long.
Yeah, it did
Well,
start. No, I was hearing about it when I was like 13.
Yeah.
13 years ago.
I think
that's not long.
Yeah, and I think that I think like things like broccoli and things like cauliflower, I don't know if they're completely man-made, but from my understanding they are, and I could definitely be wrong, but I think kale kind of falls in that category as well. And when you think about like if you were to consume 2 pounds of steak, yeah, you'd be really full. Might fart a little bit from it, right? Because it's a lot of food. That's a good amount of food. But your stomach's not going to be like ripped apart. You eat even just a pound of kale, and you'd probably be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Probably be hitting that toilet pretty hard.
It's a lot of fiber too.
And
Doesn't
yeah,
matter.
and having having guys like Dr. Baker in here and having Paul Saladino in here to give us all this information on meat has been amazing, and it's helped my diet a lot. I know it's helped a lot of people with all kinds of ailments, as he was pointing out. Everything from diabetes to eczema to just achiness. People having achiness in their shoulder or elbow or knee. And they try these carnivorous diets. They try these, as we were calling it earlier, ass to mouth diets.
Yes.
AKA nose to tail.
ATM.
Or tail to nose, nose to tail.
Mouth diet.
And but the information is great, and the evidence that we're seeing from all these people that are trying the diet has been fantastic. But we don't really have a lot of kind of long-term data in terms of, I would say that this is, I can't even imagine that it wouldn't be healthy, because I think that human survival depended on us eating meat. So I don't even think that's debatable. I don't think you can even question that. However, when it comes to performance, we're kind of wondering, like, Paul was kind of referencing fat and salt as being this thing. And he was mentioning to me, well, I know you said you tried salt, but maybe you needed even more salt when you're on a carnivorous diet or when you're on a keto diet. I've never done a carnivore diet or a keto diet with just performance in mind, or with just trying to train really hard. And if I did try it that way, I would probably be in a slight caloric surplus, or I've just tried to eat a little bit more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And typically when I've used these styles of diets, it's always been to lose weight. And so I've been in a caloric restriction, therefore I haven't felt great. And I can say that even with carbs, when I did like a bodybuilding style diet, what happened when the calories started getting restricted, even with the carbohydrates and high protein, completely different diet than a carnivore diet, I didn't feel great either, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about trying to get optimal performance, and let's kind of just talk specifically for a minute about bodybuilding. Can we eat fat and protein and salt and get similar results? What do you think?
I think that's the thing where it's hard, because I don't think many people have really given that a true shot. He was mentioning, I think Paul Saladino had a really good point about this, in that it takes a while to get fat adapted, right? A lot of people that I know who have, maybe they're performance athletes or bodybuilders, when they go to doing something very low carb, right? Maybe not necessarily keto with a technical keto, but like very low carb, high fat, good amounts of protein. Like a few days later, they're like, I've been doing this for 3 days. This isn't for me. I'm so much better. I work better with carbs and fat, right? But there is a period of time that it takes to get fat adapted. And I think 90-something% of people that really do try to do these types of diets don't really give themselves the time to getting used to using fat as the main energy source. And I don't think we know enough people who've done it successfully to be like, okay, if I want to be a competitive bodybuilder, let's say, right, I can do this without eating much carbs. It's going to be hard to be the one who's going to want to take that plunge, especially since you don't know any high level. I don't know any high level natural or enhanced bodybuilders that are like, oh yeah, I did this without carbs. I don't know any. So
No.
why would I be the guy who take the plunge to try it out when I know this is what works? People are doing this in a fairly healthy way without health issues. I'm just going to eat some carbs.
Yeah, the only people I know in terms of bodybuilding and in terms of even powerlifting, the people just use it like off season, so they'll get done with a competition and maybe they use it as some form of a reset. In bodybuilding, you have this kind of bulk season going on. So somebody might like bulk for a little while. They might eat a tremendous amount of carbs, and they might be like, it's time to like get in a little bit better shape or just feel a little bit better. And maybe they just don't want to weigh as much.
Mm-hmm.
And so they might go on like a keto style diet, lose a little bit of weight. Then they might go into their bodybuilding prep. Then coming out of the bodybuilding prep, they might switch into another diet. And I personally think that that's a great way to live your life. I think not necessarily being like a full-time bodybuilder, but I think having your nutrition change as it's changed for myself, as it's changed for you, as it's changed for Andrew. I mean, even in just a short time that the three of us have been on the podcast together, all of our diets have changed. Some have been less drastic than others, but we move stuff around and we keep trying different things. And I think ultimately that's what everybody else should be aiming for, because you want to be in search of something better, something that can help you improve. And so that's what we're kind of in search of. Again, for myself, I haven't really tried it that way with eating a large amount of food. What about yourself, Andrew?
No, I mean it's hard for me to eat, right? Like it's funny. I was trying to explain it to a family member. I was tearing through a bunch of hamburger patties, and I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I need to sneak in a couple of fries because I'm getting full. It's like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, because if I eat something a little different, I can pack in more stuff. But I've been doing the vertical diet pretty much all year. The only difference now is because I did add some body fat. I wanted to pull out some of the carbs, so now I'm doing about half of the amount of carbs that I was initially. And even that's been kind of a little bit of a chore because now I'm eating more of the protein and less of the carbs, so I have less stuff to help, like, kind of get me from A to B, whereas before I can mix in all the carbs and it was super easy to eat.
Yeah.
But in regards to like what you guys were just talking about, it's funny, like Joel Furman, I know we joked around about him last podcast, we went a little bit too hard, but him and Paul Saladino have the exact same end game. They want to live optimally for as long as possible. However, we're a bunch of meatheads, so we don't want to live like that. We want to, like, because like 2 questions already came in, and it was like, okay, well, has anybody been like, on stage carnivore only? And you guys both answered that. It's like, well, no, but that doesn't mean you still can't be jacked.
Yeah.
Are you going to be the most jackedest? Like, no.
So here's my thoughts on it. Is like, I know that when I've been on a carnivore diet strict, that my conditioning was not far off from being able to go up on stage. My conditioning right now is not nearly as good with some carbohydrates in there, but I have different goals right now. I want to lift good. I want to feel really good in the gym, and I want to feel strong while I'm training. And so I'm doing what I know works really well, and that's to implement a little bit of carbs. I feel like I'm in good shape. But when I was stricter on carnivore, I feel like percentage wise, body fat wise, I was probably a little closer. And I think you're probably similar. Like you've been eating pretty clean for, not clean, but you've been eating well for a while, and you've been implementing more meat. You just got some liver and things like that, right?
Yeah, I just grabbed some liver the other day, 3 pounds of it. So been smacking that down. Mainly because, like, after what Paul Saladino mentioned, I watched a bunch of stuff about liver. It has a lot of nutrients. It's pretty crazy.
It's like the world's best multivitamin.
It really is. So, like, I want to see if there's going to be a difference for me. And, like, I'm not adverse to the taste because I mentioned on that podcast I ate liver a lot as a kid. But, yeah, like, I don't eat as many carbs as I used to in the past. Not because carbs are fat, but just because, like, after I lowered my carb intake just a bit as I was doing fasting, I noticed that my performance levels, especially even when doing jujitsu and like hard cardiovascular type of work, didn't decrease. So I think that also when it comes to, like, a lot of us performance athletes, we may be just eating more carbs than we really need to actually perform. And sometimes I think, even I've done this in the past, so I'm not trying to get at anyone here, but sometimes we use our performance as a reason to eat excess amounts of carbs. Like, I can have this stuff, because I'm about to go do something hard. So,
well, and you're also you use that as a crutch and as an excuse to eat something a little dirtier than what you're supposed to eat. Because like the potatoes that you have at home are different than the potatoes you get at a restaurant that have like a bunch of oil and salt and a bunch of other things on them, right? And so I think it's like, you're like, I'm trying to be big and strong, and it's like, well, that has a lot of actually harmful stuff in it that's not going to necessarily help you, and it may actually be harming your performance.
Most definitely. I do have a question for you, though. You mentioned when you were doing carnivore that you had close to stage lean conditioning. Do you think it's because, like, you were eating a little bit less fat, a little bit less carb, and, like, because you're having so much meat, you were, like, in a deficit, or is that like a byproduct of the diet, in your opinion?
I think it was a byproduct of mainly being in a deficit, because at that time I was also fasting. So I would fast for 18 to 20 hours, and then I would just eat meat. And that regimen, like, felt good to me in a lot of ways. But I still think, even if I was to go back to it right now, which I probably will switch back into doing more of that again soon, because I like to rotate things around a lot. But even if I was to go back into that now, I still think I would have some potatoes with the meat and stuff. I find it more pleasurable, and I actually think that there's some value to that. Like, I don't know if we should, like, walk around all the time like being so deprived of everything. Like, life is challenging, right? And then we're trying to challenge ourselves a lot with everything that we do, and I'm always trying to make things harder. So I'm like, it'd be nice to, throw myself some different things here and there with my nutrition. I love to have like blueberries and apples and oranges and things like that. And so, if I feel like incorporating them, I want to be able to utilize them. But I do wonder, like, if you have fat and salt, can you get a similar pump in training? I've never experienced it, but I've also, again, I've never really tried it in that sense of like really pushing it and having, as much salt as he was recommending, which I think he was saying almost like 12 grams a day.
Yeah, a lot of salt.
I do take in a lot of salt, and that was a huge concern for Hani Rambad when he and I were working together. And so he asked me like, how much salt are you having? And I said, I think I'm having 8 to 10 grams a day, but still wasn't quite 12. And so I don't know. All I know is what I know, and all I know is what I've done. So I've done these things, and I've done stuff with carbs. We talked earlier about coming off of a cheat meal. Having a day where you just were maybe reckless with your food, maybe even just ate pizza. Now, pizza is not supposed to be great for us. Gluten, and there's dairy. There's all kinds of quote unquote harmful things. Eating fast food, or going to like a Chinese restaurant. Like, we know there's a lot of like bullshit in those kinds of foods. Maybe MSG and these things. You go to the gym the next day, and you feel fucking strong. You feel really good. So I don't know where these answers are.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, I'm not sure, using whey protein for insulin spikes while on a carnivore diet.
Yeah, I mean, whey protein is anabolic. It will spike your insulin levels. So technically, you should be able to use whey protein almost like a carbohydrate post workout. And I've done that for years. I always have a post workout shake. I've probably been doing that since I was, I don't know, like 18 or something like that. Right now, I utilize carbs and protein together post-workout, but if you were on a lower carb diet and you didn't want to have any carbohydrates, you could certainly go that route. Again, with the protein shake, I feel like it's pleasurable. Like, they taste pretty good nowadays. They're not, maybe 10 years ago, they tasted like shit. They tasted like
chalk.
vitamins. Yeah, they tasted like chalk. But now, for the most part, they're pretty good. So the other thing is too, like, I think if you're in good shape and you feel good and you feel strong, like if you feel good and feel strong and feel like you look good in the mirror, then I would kind of keep on going, because I hate telling people keep doing what you're doing, because I don't really believe in that. I think you should always be looking for something better. However, if you are in good shape and you feel pretty good about where you're at, you should continue on your path, because as I've said to Nsima before, I'm like, dude, you're just going to get leaner. Like, it doesn't even matter. There could be small alterations of your diet or whatever, but just because as you get older, just all this muscle mass that you've had, he's not really like reached his like prime, reached his like peak. And it's a weird thing, but your muscles you'll just always look better. With Rosemary, who works in here, she's lost some weight. She said she was like stuck. I said, yeah, but you look leaner. Like, you look better. Hey, you look better, Andrew. And you've gained weight, but you look leaner. And it's like, over time, all this work that we're doing in here actually does pay off. It actually does turn into something. And it may not show up necessarily on the scale. It may not show up in other areas, but you certainly see it in people. You see it in their triceps. You see it in their shoulders. You see it in their arms. You can tell quite a bit. So, somebody that's doing well, just keep cranking.
Yeah. That's I wonder about that, because, like years ago when I was counting macros more and I got really, really lean, contest lean, by just, counting my calories. If I just decided, I wanted to stick with this lifestyle and this lifestyle only because it works, I know it works, and there's really no reason to try anything else. I think I would have pigeonholed myself a little bit, because I wouldn't have tried new things as far as when it comes to diet. I would have been too afraid to like not count my macros, because I would have thought that like there's no way I can maintain leanness without having to take a scale with me everywhere, etc. Right. So, I mean, it does make sense. Like, it's hard to tell somebody to try something else if they're already doing great with what they're doing.
Right.
Which is why also, like, it's also a little bit difficult, when we hear about like the carnivore diet or keto, etc. Right. And some people are thinking, maybe I should try this out, and they're doing perfectly okay while, eating carbs. Why eliminate?
Yeah.
I guess we just really need to think of what's going to be the real benefit for you.
Take a baby step, like for you said you didn't cut out carbs, but you lowered them.
I lowered them. And I don't necessarily see the reason why I totally cut it out at any certain point, because I haven't, at least I feel I have no adverse effects when it comes to the way I feel when I eat them, etc. Right? Like Paul had a reason. He had eczema, right? So like he said, when he got carbs and like vegetables out of his diet, his eczema went away. That's a perfectly good reason to eliminate that. But it's hard to say, like, if you're doing great and you're losing weight and you're eating a decent amount of carbs, healthy carbs, maybe you don't have to cut it out totally.
Yeah, and I also wonder too, like if you just kind of treated it like training a little bit. Like we talk a lot about nasal breathing. Like, what's the point of nasal breathing? Well, the point of nasal breathing is to make something harder. What's the point of doing tempo squats? Same thing, make something harder. Give yourself a different way to approach the weight, and it ends up changing the intensity without changing the weight. Supersetting, same thing. Increase the intensity, weight can stay the same. Short rest period, same thing. So like, what if we just said, Nsima, you know what? All next month, just full carnivore, just getting rid of carbs, because when we bring the carbs back, that's what I want to focus on. We're not going to focus on necessarily how you feel when they're gone. I do want to know that. I do want that feedback, but let's see what happens when we bring them back in. Because maybe it would be maybe it'd be a reset. Maybe your body would suck them up better, or maybe you would feel better, or maybe there'd be no change. We don't know. We don't know until we, you got to try these different things. So I think it's important for you to kind of always be thinking, like, what's my next move? You always want to be a couple moves ahead. Man, it might be worth trying things out. I know for myself, when I've gotten rid of carbohydrates and I brought them back in, it did feel like they packed a new punch. Or when I got depleted in bodybuilding and then I brought the carbs back in, it felt really good. But that was also like, it felt really good for like a day or two. So I don't know if it was like a permanent, is this like a real change? Like, are the carbs more effective than they were before? Probably not. I think they felt really good because I was in such a depleted state.
I think it's like a nerdy term called supercompensation.
I love I love supercompensation.
Supercompensate. Yeah, like, especially if you haven't been having carbs for a while, you feel like a superhero, man. Like, I remember when I was depleted too, when I had to like do that peak week or whatever, and we minimized the carbs, and on the day before I had like 700 grams of carbs the day before stage. That next day I was like so just veiny and plump, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, a big cheat meal like the night before a heavy lifting day to the next day, you feel so. I've only done that once, where I actually noticed it, and it was last week.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, I'm going to eat a little bit more today because I want to bench heavy tomorrow. And it was the second best bench day I've had.
I think if you could even just figure out a way to weigh a little bit more. So let's say that you train in the morning. Maybe just when you wake up, try to drink a bunch of water and get a bunch of salt in. Like, just because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I lose like 3 or 4 pounds in the middle of the night. And it's coming in here and training that much lighter, it might have a negative impact. So like this morning, I knew we were going to have a big workout, so I got up a little bit earlier. I ate some carbs, I ate some protein, I got some salt in, I drank some water. And because of that, I was probably a pound or two heavier. Doesn't sound like a lot, but just like when you go to do a pull-up, if you're 5 pounds lighter, they feel a lot easier.
Yeah.
Having a little bit of extra meat on your bones for those big lifts, those big squats and deadlifts and benches and stuff could make a huge difference.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was the same for water, but you just did, so.
Yeah, just drink a lot of water. just fucking down a lot of water.
Yeah, like the day before Worlds, I ate like a lot of food that day, and I drank a lot of water. Like I usually drink a good amount of water every day, but I drank extra water that day before. The next morning, I just like looked super jacked. I felt super good.
People are so upset right now. Oh, you just eat more and you get more jacked. Okay.
There's a caveat, like
no, I know, I'm joking, but
you're
people
right.
are like,
well, he also has the muscle to like fill things up, so it's but
I sound like a dick.
Yeah. He's a dick. Never mind. But you need to have the muscle to be able to kind of like fill it up. So that is something to consider too. Like if you're heavy and you're listening to this, like you don't need these like big refeeds. Like let's not worry about that for now. Let's worry about the main goal, the main objective. If it is your main goal and main objective to lose weight, let's have you working on that for a while. But you also can't be chasing losing weight nonstop. We talked about earlier, you don't work all day. You don't play video games all day. You got to switch gears. You got to do different things. And when it comes to losing weight, I've seen a lot of people make the mistake of they're always in a weight loss state. And it's like, dude, you got to shift gears here and there. You got to try something different.
Yeah, that's why the best thing, I think, one of the best things, at least, especially when you're trying to lose body fat or weight, is not focusing on the scale or the body fat or the weight. Focus on your performance, especially like if you're a powerlifter, you're someone who does bodybuilding. Focus on hitting PRs in the gym, because you can hit PRs as you get lighter and as you lose body fat. You don't have to be really high body fat or really heavy to hit gym PRs. You can get better in terms of the way you perform the movements so that you can get stronger with that over time. And as you're losing the weight, I've found a lot of people, and this is especially within the physique athlete community, when they're maybe out of season or they're trying to cut, when they start focusing on it, it becomes nerve-wracking for them. And it's just like they can't stop thinking about it. It gives them anxiety. But when they start just focusing on performance and doing better in the gym, everything just moves in the right direction. But it's hard to make that shift.
Yeah, performance is huge because like I think we undersell it, and it's like with bodybuilding, a lot of times the excess carbohydrates and things like that are so that you can, in some cases, have double day workouts. You know, 2-a-day workouts. Some people might do they might do like strength and hypertrophy at night, or they might do two hypertrophy workouts, or they might do a training session, a regular lifting session, and cardio, or fasted cardio in the morning or whatever. But a lot of times they'll have 2 training sessions, and it's like, well, that's gonna take a lot of energy. And then how are you recovering from these training sessions? And the answer is carbohydrates. Having that glucose is going to get you recovered and get you into that next workout. And like you mentioned, bodybuilding is actually, it's simple. Like a lot of the strategies behind it are simple. The execution of it's not easy because it can be really hard because there's a lot of work to be done. But in short, I think I got this somewhat correct. I think, the lifting is helping provide, an external resistance that's allowing you to gain muscle mass. The cardiovascular training is allowing you to burn body fat. It doesn't necessarily just work only that way. There's a lot of other things that are involved. Being a caloric deficit is going to help you to lose body fat as well. There's a lot of different strategies that people utilize surrounding all this. But in bodybuilding terms, having those carbohydrates in your system, they like to go in the gym and get a pump. And they like to get a pump early in the workout, and they like to sustain that pump. And they like almost like a pump to where you feel like you can't handle it anymore. Like your arms are going to explode, your legs are going to explode.
Yeah.
And they have those carbohydrates in their system. It's kind of assisting with that because the carbs, again, I say carbohydrate helps hydrate the muscle. It's probably, this is just a guess, probably helping solidify and bring into the muscles probably potassium and whatever the hell else is in your muscles, salt and magnesium, these different things that can maybe help the muscle contract harder. You can maybe make an argument for that. And then also it's just helping you with like an energy source. So if we're going back and forth and doing squats with like 315, the guy that maybe doesn't have the carbohydrates might start to deteriorate. Obviously, like there's the fat adapted equation and everything else, but for bodybuilding terms, it's allowing you to have a great performance. And I think that's something that people aren't focused enough on that. They're focused on the scale. They're focused on dropping weight. It's like, no, let's fucking kick. If we kick ass in the gym, we're going to look better. Andrew looks a lot better now than he did 2 years ago. And it's because he's kicking ass in the gym.
Exactly.
It's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Way different. And somebody kind of brought up a cool point or just comment. Let's say you go little to no carbs all week. You have a refeed day. How long can you ride those carbs? Like, is that just going to be for the next workout, the next day? Or do you think you guys will feel it for the next like 2-3 days?
That's an awesome question.
Yeah.
I don't really have a direct, I don't have like a scientific answer for that, but I do know a lot of people have utilized keto with like these 72 hour or so. That's just, I don't think the actual number matters, but they go 3 to 5 days without carbohydrates and then they'll have a refeed. But I think that's pretty hard to like answer that like super direct.
Yeah.
I always go back to Jay Cutler. Look, if we're going to have carbs in the diet, let's not be fancy. Let's just be consistent. Why not just have a little bit of carbs every day? And if it surrounds your workout and it helps blow up the muscles a little bit more, and again, let's go back to performance. If it's helping with the performance, then I think that's where we want to focus on.
Yeah. And it really depends on the amount of carbs that this person's used to eating. It's almost like getting ready for a bodybuilding show. The week before, the carbs are usually lowered. In the earlier part of the week, you feel a little bit of flat, you feel a little bit depleted. When you have that excess carbs on the day before, honestly, even myself, I see people ride that wave for maybe 3 to 4 days. If it's a good amount of carbs, they'll feel pretty good for about 3 days, maybe even 4 if it's like 600 or something grams of carbs. And then, they won't. But I don't really see the reason, especially just if you're just training, right? And let's say you're trying to get bigger or you're trying to get leaner, rather than having that big surplus, you could just spread that through a few days so you don't have to feel like crap for multiple days, if you don't have to,
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, just spread it out.
Is there any way we can eat cereal?
You can.
You know what I
don't think
mean, though.
you should, but
that's the one thing I miss more than anything right now is cereal.
that's why I think it's good that, we have all these guests on, because I don't necessarily think like a bowl of cereal, once a week or something's going to hurt you. But in the macros community or the IFYM community, you could have cereal every day. I used to think that way.
So when I started tracking, I was like, man, I could easily
fit
in like just a protein shake with plain Cheerios, as the but the problem is I'd end up eating like
you don't necessarily think about
for
the
a whole
health
box.
aspect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's how I think you could. Here's how I think you could cheat the system with something like that. I think you could use that pre-workout. I think you could, because pre-workouts, like how much of that you want to risk it and like down a bunch of that before you go training and have all that in your stomach? Probably not. So maybe you would have maybe try like a different strategy. Like rather than pouring it into a bowl, maybe pour it into like a mug.
Yeah.
Or cup, like try to screw yourself over on purpose so you can't like have this giant surplus of it. But I've done stuff like that, and I've done stuff like that even on like keto diets and stuff. The rules are, the rules are like whatever you want to do with them. You have this a certain caloric amount that's allowed each day, and as long as you're not doing too many things that are like insulting to your metabolism and to the general makeup of your body, then I think you're good. Like if you're not dumping in a bunch of weird fried foods and not having a lot of processed food, but like some cereal here and there in the grand scheme of things, there's your mug.
I found my one mug.
Yeah. Some cereal and some stuff like that. I cannot see how it's really gonna hurt you. But I'll finish with this part too, is like, if you're gonna eat fat, then try to go that route more, and you're going to want to bring the carbohydrate level down to something reasonable. Might be a little different for each person, but if you're eating a lot of steak and a lot of fat and a lot of protein, if you're eating high amounts of carbs with that, you will get fatter. There's absolutely no question in my mind of that. It's not because there's this weird synergy of carbs and fat that come together and make you fatter. It's just you end up with a large caloric surplus, and you'll end up gaining weight that way. If you choose to eat a lot of carbohydrates, you want to eat a lot of carbohydrates, you'll have to choose leaner cuts of steak. You might have to have some white fish and stuff like that here and there. You might want to have egg whites. I think egg yolks are great and there's tremendous value to them, but you may have to watch the amount of grams of fat that you have in a day if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, because that could also end up contributing to gaining fat.
It'll be really easy to overeat if we have both. We've talked about this so much. I do like when I work with a few people, I let them have like variable macros. What that means is like they'll have the same amount of calories and they'll have the same amount of protein each day. But on certain days that they want to have more carbs, they have to have a little bit less fat. And usually, like for some people, they can have a minimum of 70 fat every single day. I don't want them going below 70. But if they want to have higher carbs that day, maybe their carbs are around, let's just use random numbers here, 210, right? On a day that they really want to have higher fat, maybe around 130, 140, okay, you got to drop your carbs to around, I'm guessing that's like 120, 130, so it hits the same amount of calories. Just allowing you to make sure you hit the same amount of calories, you maintain that deficit, and you're still trending along. Some people do really well that way. They have a little bit of flexibility. And I do think there is a strength. Like you said, you go from diet to diet, right? You don't want to totally cut out apples or blueberries, et cetera, because they don't do anything bad for you. You like those. I think it's good allowing yourself to be a little bit flexible with that so that you can have different foods. Not so you can eat junk food all the time, but I don't see myself really cutting out fruit. It's not that bad. It's not bad for me. If I can be flexible and allow these foods in, I don't have to eliminate them. I don't see necessarily the reason why you should, if you're not having adverse effects. Again, we talked about this, eliminate total food groups.
There's some times a year where you're like, man, orange looks really damn good.
It's funny we're saying, oh, oranges. You can't have oranges.
Yeah, there's certain times of year where you're just like, man, that just looks really good. Like, fruit is pretty seasonal, and sometimes you get, you're like, just want it. And why not go for it? And like, I drink coconut water here and there, and I think you had some Worlds, right?
Yeah. I used to drink coconut a lot when I was like playing soccer. My
Tons
soccer
of potassium.
Coach, my soccer coach, like that was the thing that he suggested for us. But that coconut water was really clutch that day.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Did you guys ever have any problems sleeping well on keto? Or Mark, if you ever had any issues like that? Yeah.
No. I think sometimes being in a caloric deficit can make you a little fidgety. It can make you a little like it can make sleep a little bit harder. But I never noticed anything from like necessarily low carb. I think some of these symptoms that people run into, as Nsima pointed out earlier, it's just it might take time. It might take time for you to get used to the nutrition and everything.
Yeah, and some people aren't used to going to sleep on not an empty stomach, but like a half full stomach.
Less than
a lot of
full,
people like to like eat a lot. So if your stomach's full and you feel tired, okay. But if it's not, you're just like, oh.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when Andy Galpin said to just like pound a bunch of food right before bed to help you sleep through the night. That was the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, people have been saying different things. I mean, I don't know, from evolutionary standpoint, it might make sense. Like you feel like you're safe. Maybe you are in a cave or something like that, and it's nighttime, and you polish off some food and you just lay down. Maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe that's the way people did stuff. I have no idea.
Yeah. What about chicks kind of going to get their body fat tested and being a little upset at the results?
So for anybody getting their body fat tested, first of all, figure out what's going to be the next move after this body fat test. Are you going to get the same body fat test again, or are you going to try to get a different? You want to match it up with whatever you're getting tested. So that's important. That's really important that you have the same form of testing. I don't really understand why you would get your body fat tested if you're kind of fat, because I don't really know what the feedback wouldn't be great. Now, if you're like 15% and you're a guy and you're trying to get down to like you're trying to see if your diet is working correctly to keep the muscle mass on as you lose body fat. And same thing if you're a girl and you're like, girls are usually higher. If they're 20%, they're trying to get down to 15. Some of that makes some sense, but I usually advise people against messing around with body fat checks, because they can be all over the place.
They can.
They really can be it can be a nightmare.
I think the best things, like, especially when you're heavier, it's always best to maybe just like track how your clothes fit over time. I think a lot of people neglect that, because I've had individuals like, oh, I didn't see a body fat difference. Okay, well, tell me about the way your clothes fit. Well, actually, I'm like 3 belt notches, deeper. My shirt's a little bit looser. Oh, I am taking measurements. My waist is like 3 inches less. So like a lot of times body fat measurements can be super inaccurate. And just like these simple things as seeing the way shirts fit or taking certain measurements around certain areas of your body can make a bigger difference. That's why like I don't just depend, and I wouldn't say it's always good to depend on the scale or body fat tests, because the scale can range, you go to sleep, you wake up, you drink a lot of water, have some salt, and you're 5 pounds heavier. Like, right? That scale can be a bitch.
Yeah.
So these other measurements can help out.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked, because there was a couple that had come in to the seminar that we had recently, and like, yeah, we both did our body fat tests, and it's like, man, he barely did anything. He lost all kinds of fat, and me, I worked my ass off, and I didn't lose anything. So I think what I was asking is like, in comparison to a man, like it's very different for a female.
Yeah, women do say that a lot, but I think that some of that might have to do with I think that the guys, in terms of like diet and training, the men are a little bit more bought into, like, look, if I train hard, if I lift hard, then I'm going to gain muscle mass, and that's going to make this whole process a lot easier. So I think that's why the men have a little bit of an advantage over some females. There's some females that have a lot of muscle mass, and there's some females that you put them on a diet and boom, they lose 20 pounds. It's kind of for the same reason why it might work for a guy, just because they simply have more muscle mass. And it might just take, for each person, it might just take some figuring out. It takes time to lose weight.
Yeah, it takes time to figure out exactly what's going to work for you, what you can stick to. And the worst thing is like, yeah, I see that a lot when both a husband and a wife are doing something, but guys just, he's just trending down all the time and she's not moving forward as fast. It's hard to see someone else doing that and comparing yourself to them and you're not nearly at their speed.
But let's break it down for a second. Like, what woman do we know that is just hammering an onslaught of food all the time? Like, I can't even, there's no one in my circle that I can think of that just hammers food that's a chick. They can eat good. I know some girls that can pound some food, right? But I don't know any girls where I'm like, oh shit, that girl gets after it when it's like
Yeah,
time
right.
to eat. But how many guys do I know? Tons of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so where are the guys coming from versus where are the women coming from? The guys that are in these relationships that are dropping 30 pounds, it's like the motherfucker had the worst habits in the world.
You're right.
He was drinking 5 Cokes a day. He was smoking cigarettes. He was going out and drinking with his buddies on Friday night and eating a bunch of buffalo wings and eating like a goddamn savage and having ice cream when he comes home from being drunk and stuff. Girls don't. I mean, I know there's probably some girls that do that, but I haven't really been exposed to a lot. I haven't seen a lot of that. So I think when the girls get upset and they're like, all he did is cut out pizza and soda and he lost 30 pounds. And it's like, yeah, because he's fucking fat because he does it all the time and he weighs 270.
No, and the reason behind that is it's not when some women that are listening to this, I know this isn't all women, but there are a lot of women that they're sedentary and they don't eat a lot of food, right? So they have some bad habits and they do gain fat slowly over time. So they're gaining fat with a repressed metabolism and they kind of have to go at it backwards. They need to slowly eat more food and do more activity so that their metabolism can speed up and then they can lose weight, while these guys that are hammering food down just need to eat a little less and work out a little more and they're good.
And the girls before, they were trying to be skinny as it was, and they
wasn't working.
Kind of getting skinny fat.
and it wasn't working because they were already doing something that wasn't working well for them. They actually need to move backwards. So that makes a lot of sense too. It's frustrating. It really is.
Oh, girls get pissed. They're like, all he did is cut out soda. He lost a bunch of weight.
Dude, I don't know if you're standing there when I spoke to this couple, but that's exactly what she said.
Yeah,
it's like he just stopped drinking soda and he's dropped all kinds of weight.
But the
damn,
girl's probably drinking diet soda, so it's like it's. I guess the point is it's not a drastic enough change. I've helped a lot of people lose weight. Some people will say, look, I'm super active. I do A, I do B, I do C, I do all this stuff. I'm like, well, that's normal for you. You might swim 5 miles every day, and guess what? You're gonna be the same fatness unless you make other change. There's got to be some real changes here. Maybe you need to stop swimming for a while, and maybe you need to lift weights. Or maybe you need to swim a little bit less and lift weights. Or maybe you need to, somebody might say, I play a lot of tennis or I play a lot of golf. I'm outside a lot. I walk a lot. I move around a lot. It's like, well, you weigh 280 you weigh 280. You're in these circumstances because this is what your body's used to and this is what you weigh, And so you're going to have to figure out some way to add in more exercise or a better way of eating or something. You got to make some sort of change.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out a way to make it consistent over a long period of time, because it's really especially when changing these habits, it's so easy for a lot of people to just fall off. 4 or 5 weeks, no difference. Okay, well, this doesn't work. It's not for me.
They put their hands up like, oh man,
I've tried everything.
We're going to wrap this one up. My boy Nsima's got another podcast to hop on. It was good having you guys listening to our video games and our porn and our food and our whatever the hell else we talked about on this show.
I talked about the free shipping today.
And yeah, we did talk about, we have free shipping. No, we're not giving stuff away for free, are we?
So I think
not today.
You're not satisfied with just the free shipping. You're actually giving people $5.
I don't want to give people $5.
No,
and
you are.
I'll be at their door.
I accidentally said that already, so it has I have to now tell the department that changes all the codes and all that stuff that we're gonna give people $5 today too.
Oh my God, $5 to the Strong Squad members, right?
Yes. If you're a Strong Squad member, you get $5 today.
And Nsima will show up at your door delivering a very large package, let's just say.
Yeah. Just be ready.
He's in that strongest gym in the West thong. It says, you can read it on the front. It says strongest gym in the West. Get the Get the point. Picture.
Have some lotion or lube on the counter ready. Okay? Cool.
Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.